We cannot allow federal agency, one that was created for the purpose to terrorize, to function as an occupying force in our community. Real accountability starts with abolishing ICE, impeaching Kristi Noem, and rethinking how we enforce immigration policy in this country.
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course not. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Today, we're breaking down a tense and highly talked about moment from a recent House Judiciary Committee hearing. At the center of it are Representatives Ilhan Omar and Pramila Jayapal, engaging in a heated exchange over border policy with longtime immigration official Tom Homan. Right away, the contrast in perspectives is clear. On one side, you have lawmakers raising concerns about humanitarian impact and accountability. On the other, you have someone who has spent decades working directly in immigration enforcement, bringing a very different, experience-driven viewpoint to the table. The atmosphere quickly shifts from formal hearing to something far more intense. Questions are carefully framed, and there's an evident attempt to challenge Homan's stance by focusing on moral and ethical implications. But he doesn't approach this like a politician. His responses are direct, grounded in years of fieldwork, and noticeably resistant to rhetorical framing. Watch closely as the exchange unfolds. There's a clear effort to steer the conversation in a certain direction, but Homan stays firm, answering in a way that reflects a professional background rather than political messaging. It becomes less about sound bites and more about 2 fundamentally different interpretations of the same issue. We'll go through the full clip together, and afterward, I'll break down what stood out, what each side was really arguing, and why this moment has sparked so much debate across the country.
We cannot allow federal agency, one that was created for the purpose to terrorize, to function as an occupying force in our community. Real accountability starts with abolishing ICE, impeaching Kristi Noem, and rethinking how we enforce immigration policy in this country. And we cannot stop there. We must demand that those who are responsible for terrorizing our community are investigated thoroughly, not by the agencies that oversee them, by truly independent authorities. We have seen federal agencies block state investigation, stonewall accountability. This is unacceptable. Our system of justice cannot tolerate a situation where people are killed and only response is silence, spin, or justification from the administration's officials. Minnesota was once known as a place of refuge. Now it has been turned into a war zone by a federal government that has lost sight of the values that make America great. Everything we love, our communities, our rights, our Constitution, our humanity is on the line right now. We have to fight like our future depends on it, because it does.
Is there anything you'd like to respond to what you've heard today?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to Acting Chairman Jayapal and your comment about the Trump administration moving money around for more detention beds. I'd like to remind you, under the Obama administration, we did that most of the years he was president. We moved money around. DHS is called reprogramming. We did that under the Obama administration. I don't remember any hearings on that. And also, I'd like to remind you that under the Obama administration, I mean, you're quick to point out that the cages were built under the Obama administration. I was there. Family detention, we had 100 family beds under the Obama administration. We built 3,000 more. So when there was a surge in FY14 and FY15 on the border, Congress was quick to give all the money we needed to build detention facilities, get transportation contracts. We reprogrammed money out of the majority of the years he was president. That was fine. Under Obama administration, FY12, we removed 409,000 people, half of what was removed last year. There was no hearings on that. So this is about transparency. Let's be factual about it.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Since you did address some comments at me, I'll just say that I didn't like it under the Obama administration either. In fact,
well, be honest with the American people. You can't point out faults in the Trump administration when it happened under the Obama administration. That's dishonesty. It's pathetic and it's sad.
Mr. Homan, I control the time, and I am the chairwoman of the committee. Thank you for respecting that. I didn't like it under the Obama administration, and I'll remind you, Mr. Homan, that you also testified before Congress in support of the Obama's Priorities Enforcement Program before the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 19th, 2016, which had a very different approach.
Well, can I respond to that? Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course not.
And I want to give you some time, but I do want to ask one quick question, and I want to make one quick statement. I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive. I have 15 seconds, and I yield it to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get to go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
That moment was striking. And if you paid attention, you could see just how quickly the tone shifted. Representative Ilhan Omar appeared taken aback as the discussion moved away from familiar talking points and into a more direct, fact-driven exchange led by Tom Homan. Let's unpack what just happened. Omar focused heavily on the humanitarian side of border enforcement, emphasizing dignity, fairness, and the treatment of migrants. That perspective resonates with many, but it also sparked pushback from Homan, who framed the issue through the lens of law enforcement and operational reality. From his standpoint, enforcing immigration law isn't optional. It's a responsibility assigned by Congress. He repeatedly brought the discussion back to structure, policy, and the consequences of inconsistent enforcement. To him, this isn't theoretical. It's something he's dealt with firsthand over decades. Meanwhile, Pramila Jayapal, presiding over the hearing, maintained order, but the dynamic in the room suggested deeper disagreements beneath the surface. The exchange highlighted a broader national divide between those prioritizing humanitarian reform and those emphasizing border control and legal consistency. What stood out most was a difference in approach. Omar relied on prepared remarks and structured questioning, while Homan spoke more freely, drawing on personal experience rather than notes. That contrast gave the moment its intensity and made it feel less like a scripted hearing and more like a real confrontation of ideas. In the end, this wasn't just about one exchange. It reflected a much larger debate about policy, responsibility, and the role of government. Should the focus lean more toward compassion or enforcement? Can both coexist effectively? Now it's your turn. How did you see it? Did Homan come across as too forceful, or was he simply being direct? Share your thoughts, and let's continue the conversation.